Okay, this is how my AI idea would work, and I'm going to explain it with these pictures I drew. First of all, there's a grid of they could be cubes or they could be dodecahedrons, but they're in a grid, in a 3D grid, and they're nodes. But they're kind of special nodes because inside each node there is, inside each node there is connections. So this is 2D, so there are 6 connections, but there can be about 9 connections between all of these that you can put in there. And so what happens is that depending on entropy, it either adds a link or subtracts a link by the ratio of phi. So this is you see when the entropy is high, it starts pruning it, and when the entropy is low, it starts growing it. And so when it gets to the middle, it stabilizes, so that the energy being inputted into the node will change whether or not it prunes or grows new connections. And the phi ratio is just that whenever it stabilizes, whenever it gets to the middle where entropy is only 50%, or like between 40% and 60%, or some undefined boundary. When it gets to that point, you see the growth and the pruning happen at the phi ratio rate. So first it does it like let's take this as an example. 1 second, and then 1.618 seconds, and then times it by that, and that's how long it takes for the intervals for it to prune or grow. So it slows down. So as let's say that it's staying above 60%. Then it starts pruning them. It prunes them. It keeps pruning and pruning, but only at the phi ratio. So until it has no more connections left, and then it has to wait until it stabilizes to the middle, and when it gets to the middle, no connections will grow because they have already all been pruned. But when it gets below 40%, somehow the entropy silenced for some reason, and then it starts growing new connections of the old ones it missed by the phi ratio. First it'll grow first it'll grow a link in 1 second, then it'll grow another link in 1.618 seconds, and onward as how it would be. Now the grid has to be in the shape of the brain, because I believe that just as how a flipper is designed for a dolphin to swim, and the hand is designed to play an instrument or to use a mouse, or however the shape determines what it's used for. And so with the grid of cells, there's going to be white matter, and there's going to be white matter, and then there's going to be gray matter. So, but overall, you could start out with these cells. You see, you just like in a paint program where you draw and only the white and only the ones with black are filled in and the ones with white aren't filled in. You fill the grid with these things in the shape of a brain with the white matter tracks and everything, and then that's sort of like and then you randomize the connections, because in a baby's brain, when you randomize the connections, you grow the amygdala and you grow the thalamus and you grow the neocortex, but they don't really, but they're all connected randomly. They're fully connected. So they're fully connected, and so that means that when the baby grows, it's pruning a lot of connections. It's pruning a lot of them because the entropy is so high because everything's noisy, and so it can't get thoughts down. But once the entropy lowers, the brain of the infant is able to simulate the outside environment. But because it's the brain of a child, you can program it with language. But if it was the brain of, say, not a dolphin, but let's say a mouse. Now, a mouse doesn't have the right amount of brain cells to grow into the region where speech would develop, and so there has to be enough neurons, or these cells which form connections or prunes inside them, and you put them out in a grid, the shape of a brain, and then allow it to generate from then on. And that's how my AI idea would naturally work. You get the overall structure of the brain, the white matter, the gray matter, the thalamus, all the major parts, but they're highly connected with high entropy, and by pruning them, they will develop into however the simulated virtual intelligence will develop however it interacts with the people in the real world. And people in the real world can do that through the Oculus Rift now, so I think that that's how it should work.